Ninja News Japan has a new favorite mayor, and it is, quite frankly, she's the mayor of Ninja News Japan. She is our mayor, the internet's mayor. There was a scandal. We've talked about her before, which is why it is so fresh in my memory. Certainly, if you've listened for any length of time over the last few months, you've heard about her. She was having meetings in love hotels with a married coworker, a married colleague. And to me, I explained previously, the purpose of having any interaction in a love hotel was to have physical interaction. The touch of another being, the intimate caress of a lover, to feel that connection. Now, she's saying this was all business. We were having business meetings. She was worried that if she had a meeting in public, that meeting in public, maybe she would get upset and then her constituents would see her cry or she would lose face. So she had to go somewhere private. And what's more private than a love hotel where you go and finger blast your favorite person? Well, I'm all on board with that. Now, it was a scandal. Taxes, there is a real concern that the tax money was used to pay for some of these visits, like the cars to get there, and then maybe the hotel itself because it was a meeting expense, that kind of stuff. A lot of concerns. She was ousted. I actually forget if she quit. I think she just stepped down. But when she stepped down, when she left her post, she said, I'm going to run for re-election. And I said, this is interesting because if she gets re-elected, then the city that has re-elected her has tacitly approved of her going to love hotels with a married coworker. And that's it. Like, if you do something bad and you're in an elected position and they re-elect you, what the constituents are saying is, we're okay with you finger blasting your coworkers or getting finger blasted by your coworkers. I mean, they're all okay with it. This is what it is. So this city has said, yeah, our mayor visits love hotels with married people. She says it's just business. We think it's monkey business, but we're okay with the monkey business because she's our monkey. Seems like that was kind of going to go somewhere wrong real soon. The interesting part is she was actually supported by the now opposition party. So she was mayor with one group, left her position, and then has come back as mayor with the support of the opposition group. So this might be a whole other twist on it. It's like, we hate the other party so much, and she's left that other party. We're going to bring her back just to shame that other party or to make that other party suffer. I don't know what their strategy is. It's the Constitutional Democratic Party of Japan and the Democratic Party for the People. And just a side note, anytime I read the names of a Japanese political party, I think of 1984. I think of post-apocalyptic, futuristic dystopias, that kind of thing. The party names they choose are just the worst across the board. They just sound terrible. They sound like evil science fiction parties. I think that's it. She got voted back in. Now, there is a big question. She was brought in by the opposition party. And in Japan, you vote for the party, not the actual person. So it's the same in Canada. You don't vote for the conservative leader or the liberal leader. You vote for the party, and the party chooses their leader. So it might be that everyone in the city actually hates her, and they're really annoyed because she caused this scandal, which is why that party left. But she's come back with the other party, and so yeah, there's a weird logic there that I can't figure out. Like, what is it they were actually trying to accomplish? Is she a very deft politician, or is she now just a pawn in other people's schemes? I don't know. I don't care. All I know is that there's a mayor who has tacit approval to take some boy off her crew and go get finger banged. Takaichi, the current prime minister, is doing okay. We've had a lot of stories about the problems that were caused when she said, if any of our friends, brackets Taiwan, were attacked by an unnamed country, brackets China, Japan would feel as though it has to step in. It would feel as if it has to do something to take care of that issue. And again, I'm really torn. I think it's good to hold your position. I think it's good to say things and then stand by them. I don't like people retracting their statements in politics and stuff. And she didn't do that. She sat by it, but it caused a lot of trouble. Now, Japan is a very strong soft power country, a powerhouse of soft power, to be honest. And this is interesting because Takaichi seems particularly deft at this. So recently, she met the Italian Prime Minister, and she met with the Italian Prime Minister very close or on his birthday. So she sang happy birthday to the Italian Prime Minister in Italian, which I think is a really cool thing to do, because it's not like being subservient. It's showing like, I'm skilled. I've learned this thing. I've learned it for your benefit to make you happy. The Italian Prime Minister could be like, hey, she did that for me. That's really nice. I like her. I like Japan. Everything's great. Now, Japan, Korea, very complicated history. I love Korea. My time there was amazing. I love Japan. My time here has been amazing. I live here, which is why this is Ninja News Japan and not Ninja News Korea, which that wouldn't make sense. I'd have to rework the title to be something Korean related, but you know what I mean. So she met on a 2-day summit with the Korean Prime Minister. And the Korean Prime Minister in a previous conversation has said, oh, I've always wanted to drum. This came about because it has become very well known that Takaichi, back in university in her youth, was the drummer in a heavy metal band, which a lot of people just can't get past. But I'm like, yeah, a lot of people do a lot of things in university that they don't do now in their professional lives. She probably maybe still keeps up the drumming. I'm not sure. I honestly doubt it. I think being prime minister probably takes up most of your time. You're not spending a lot of time playing music, but I don't know what your schedule is like. Trump seems to play a lot of golf. So who knows? Maybe she's drumming all the time. She decided at the end of this 2-day summit, she set up 2 drum kits, not personally. She had 2 drum kits set up so that her and the prime minister, it's the president of Korea, could sit down and do an impromptu jam session together. Now, was it good? No, absolutely not. Was that the point? No. He's a complete amateur. He's admitted he wanted to start learning how to play drums. Maybe this was a dream from his youth, and he had mentioned to her. She's like, look, I've got 2 drum sets set up. Let's sit down. We'll play some drums. We're going to play it to some K-pop music. We're going to do a Dynamite by BTS. We're going to do a song from K-pop Demon Hunters. And I'm going to do little flourishes, and it's going to seem mediocre, and you're going to be terrible, but, you know, doing your best to stay on beat. But it is a moment of 2 world leaders coming together. One being very thoughtful, saying, like, you said this, I remembered it. I'm going to make it happen for you. Off we go. Now we have a slightly better relationship with Korea, I hope, because I would really like that to go forward. But of course, what you're wondering is, what does this actually sound like when you have a completely amateur drummer and a former drummer? So I'm going to say, like, not professional, maybe pro-am, something like that. Someone who did it a lot in their youth, who probably is very rusty, playing together 2 songs they did not get a chance to practice. Well, it sounds pretty much like you would expect it to. So, I mean, honestly, better than I could do. And that's always like a measurement I have with when I talk about pretty much anything, is if I could do better, then I get to complain about it. I can't drum. I could not do better than them, so I got nothing to say. But that's, I think, the point, is maybe it was pretty bad. But that wasn't the point. The point was, she's trying to make something happen that this guy wanted to happen. He had a good time. Yeah, it was bad, but it was fun. And that is the kind of interesting political take that Takaichi is bringing to Japanese politics, which I'm finding very, very interesting. Since I've just mentioned our ongoing tensions with an unnamed country versus an unnamed claimed territorial, it seems like manga could be the bridge in Hong Kong, because there are sushiro. Sushiro is a kaiten sushi restaurant in Japan. It's one of those ones with the conveyor belt, and it goes around, and you can pick the sushi off the conveyor belt and you eat it. And it's they keep the price pretty low. Like, it's not cheap, but it's not, you know, expensive sushi. It's made pretty quickly en masse, but it's fine. If you're going out for lunch and you're in a rush and something, it's perfect. I like sushiro. I do not want to dish on sushiro. There are 12 sushiros in Hong Kong, and they've done a crossover with Chikawa. Now, I don't know what that manga is. I don't read a lot of manga. I don't know what this one is in particular, but this one apparently is hugely popular in Hong Kong. People started lining up at 5 a.m. the first day, so they could be the first ones to get in. Because if you spent $20, the equivalent of $20 or more, you then could purchase some limited edition goods. So they were there for the stuff. But buying $20 of sushi at Sushiro, that's like, 10 plates, maybe 15 plates. You're going to get a pretty good lunch. Again, they're going first thing in the morning lining up, but I don't think they open till lunch. I don't think Sushiro has a breakfast, but I don't know. Maybe it does. You could buy a plush keychain, which I can see that be appealing to anime nerds. Sushi plates, which sounds good until you get it home and you realize you have no purpose for it. So it must be display purpose only. You're not actually going to be using. I'm one of those people who, if I have something, I have to use it. I would never keep something in a package. It would always have to come out of the package. I have my nerd toy collection behind me. If you're going to watch the YouTube video, they are unprotected and dusty. And that is because I sometimes actually touch them and play with them. You could get phone lanyards, which is pretty lame, but I guess that is probably the most convenient one to have because you could at least put it on your phone and actually have it do something. Many stores were sold out of all the stuff on the first day, and this actually caused enough problems that police had to be called to come to the Sushiro to get everyone to just chill out for a minute because people were so worked up because I spent all this time waiting. I didn't get the goods I was kind of promised, even though I wasn't actually promised them. But you said if I spent more than $20, I could buy it, and I can't buy it because you're sold out. It's a while supplies last kind of thing. I think any reasonable person would actually understand that. But it shows that despite the political pressure that the government of China might be putting on the people of China, it's not really working because people like their manga and they really like their collectibles, and that might be the thing the soft power that actually helps Japan rule the world. There's a little young man named Taro. Taro is his great name. It's a very cliche Japanese name. It's almost like if I was going to use John Smith, so you'd call the kid John or Jack. Jack is a great name that you see way more in media than you see in real life. Taro is 12, or at least he's 12 right now. Maybe he's 13 by now. He's very good at Fortnite, like many 12-year-olds are. I would never put my skills in video games up against a 12-year-old if we were playing Fortnite. I've never played Fortnite, so the expectation would be that I lose. So there's no reason for me to even bother. Most 12-year-olds could school me at Fortnite without too much trouble, but I could crush most 12-year-olds in real life, so I take some solace in that. Also, I have money and I can buy stuff. So take that, 12-year-olds. There's a rich 12-year-old going I could buy you, and he's correct. He's so good, he started streaming him playing Fortnite, and he got 230,000 followers on YouTube, which is really good. I'm not jealous at all, despite my movie channel breaking the 200 barrier. But there's no promotion or anything. I don't expect movie channels are very niche. So this kid playing Fortnite, it makes way more sense that that would be popular. So he's so good, he wants to quit school and he wants to go pro, and he wants to go to the World Fortnite Championships, which, the prize is like $1 million. So it is a significant sum of money. There's going to be other tournaments. This is what this kid wants to do. And he's like, this is my peak time, 12, 13, 14, 15. This is when I'm going to be the best. When I get to 15, I'm going to be an old Fortnite man. I'm not going to have the skills I used to have. I'm not going to have that Twitch energy that's going to come that I need to win the Fortnite games. He might be right. I have no idea. The only measurable thing I have, because again, my whole life has been sort of involved with judo, lightweights tend to peak at a younger age than heavyweights. I think that's true of a lot of sort of big heavy man sports. So in the Olympics, when I watch the heavyweights, the 100 kilo plus guys, they're all in their 30s, maybe even 40s. Whereas in the 60, 70 kilo category, if you're 30, you're already too old to be there at all. So it's an interesting thing. Yes, physicality is determined a lot by your size. For all I know, video game skills also is significantly determined by your age and your ability to respond and react and how quickly you can absorb systems and whatnot, which is what kids are really good at. So another reason for me not to put my skills up against a 12-year-old in Fortnite. The controversial part of this, everything you've heard so far is like a kid is good at Fortnite. Who cares? He's really good at Fortnite. He's streaming his games on YouTube. Okay, maybe I'm not great with the idea of a kid being a YouTube star, but his parents obviously are. He wants to quit school. Of course, the kid wants to quit school. The controversial thing right now is that the parents will support him or want to support him leaving school. Now in Japan, school is mandatory. You can't just like not go to school. You have to be an adult before you quit school. See, I think you have to finish high school legally. But by the second grade, when he was 7 or 8 years old, he was already beating pros. And his parents were letting him play 12 hours a day. There's a terrible story in it, in one of the stories I read, where they talk about it like it's a good thing, where he lost track of time and played for like 28 hours straight. So he didn't sleep and he didn't eat and he didn't go to the toilet. And I was like, that's not good. Like, I know you're making it seem like that's dedication, but that's like youthful focus, blocking out everything and just going and going and going and going. That's when parents are supposed to step in and be like, hey, dude, you got to sleep once a day. You have to eat food and you have to go to the toilet. I am only so on the parent side. I think the parents are missing elements of what they even, okay. So I have a child. My child is particularly gifted at something that is a non-traditional skill. So like Fortnite. And I believe that my child could go pro because they are already beating pros at a very young age and they're just getting better. I would still be like, hey, you need to take breaks. Like, this would be my job as the parent. You need to take breaks. You need to hydrate. You need to eat. You need to go to the toilet. You need to poop. You need to sleep. More than anything else, as a developing young man, you need to sleep. This would be the exact same for any other sport. So let's say I have a child who's really good at baseball and they want to play baseball all the time. And I'd be like, well, you got to eat. You got to remain healthy. You got to sleep enough. You got to recover from injuries. Even though you're young and you recover very quickly, you have to give yourself that time to recover. That is what these parents clearly are not doing if they're letting their kid play Fortnite for like more than a day straight. So that's where I'm like a little, I don't know if the parents are actually the best parents ever. But they're the best parents for this kid's situation because he wants to do this and they're like 100% on board. They said if he had to go to school every day, that just studying would exhaust him. So because the Japanese system is so oppressive and you have to study so much, that would make him tired and then he wouldn't have the energy to play Fortnite. Which again, if you think Fortnite is your ticket in to wealth, riches, and fame, that is the bigger priority. I'm not against that aspect of this. I'm just against the aspect of the parents don't seem to be doing their actual job, which is raising a healthy young man who's a professional Fortnite player. There's a lot of criticism online. There was this statement, though, which was the opposite of what I'm thinking. They said, middle school is the happiest time with friends and club activities. It's a waste of time to spend it all just playing video games. That sounds like a very old person who doesn't understand video games or what this kid is capable of. Like, I don't play Fortnite, but I understand how good you have to be at this thing to beat professionals, no matter what the age. So they don't see the extraordinary skill this child possesses. And I also think that middle school is the happiest time of your life is one of the saddest statements ever. And I think that might be a Japanese nostalgia thing because you remember there's like all these mangas and stuff and it's all romanticizing what middle school was like and how happy and free you were. And it was the only time in your life you were good. But if that's the happiest time in your life, just like end it afterwards is actually a valid suggestion because you're essentially saying, I'm going to be unhappy from the time I'm a teenager to the time I die. And I'm going to be oppressed by society and stuff, which is sort of true. But I think if I was going to say happiest times, like they've come and gone, I wouldn't say there was any particular age. I think my 20s was pretty free. I think my early 30s was great. I was doing whatever I want. I actually had a little bit of money in my life. So I would actually going to say happiest time. I'm going to say early 30s because I'm old enough to know stuff. I know how to take care of my stuff. I know how to do stuff. I actually have bills paid off. I have a paycheck coming in that's pretty regular. I can do things I like. If I want to have Doritos and alcohol for dinner, I also understand the consequences. And I know I should only do that if I don't have to work the next day. So I had a nice balance between freedom and responsibility that I truly understood in my early 30s that I didn't understand in my youth because I would have gone too far one way or the other. And I'm hoping that I have some good times in my retirement when I have way more free time because I could maybe start streaming my own old man Fortnite sessions, which is going to be a new game by then. But you know what I mean? I could stream that and then get really popular as one of those granddads online who plays video games. And it's really cool that this old man plays video games wearing a shirt that says ramen. And I bought this shirt at the ramen museum at the Yokohama ramen museum that I went with my friends over the break, and it matches. It's in the Supreme logo style, but it matches the logo for Ninja News Japan so perfectly. I feel almost obligated to wear it every time I do a Ninja News Japan. We'll see how long that lasts because it's white, so it's going to get dirty. I actually wrote a whole joke that I just did not read. And because I've actually finished the story now, it doesn't make sense to do it. Police have prosecuted a fight as a duel. And you need to know what all this means. So what differentiates a fight from a duel? Well, a fight, so I'm sitting here, you're sitting there, and one of us gets angry at the other. We start to argue maybe, and then someone throws a punch and now we're fighting. That's a fight, okay? It might be assault, whoever punched who first, whatever. Judges figure that out. I can't actually say. A duel is discussed and arranged beforehand. We've actually had a duel before. It was a gang, I believe, of female bikers wanted to fight another group of female bikers, and they met up in a parking lot and fought. But because it had been arranged in advance and there was like an intermediary who sent the messages, everyone involved in that. So the person who sent the messages who didn't fight at all, they were involved in the duel. The people who arrived to watch the duel, they were prosecuted for participating in a duel. And the two people who actually fought each other, they were also prosecuted under this duel law. So anyone involved actually gets prosecuted as part of the duel. So this one involves 3 people, and it seems like alcohol was involved first. 2 guys were playing shogi. This was a little difficult because I got some very, very different versions of this story over the course of a week when I was trying to find the actual facts that I could write down that I could then talk about, because one said a video game, and one said playing shogi basically live together. So I'm actually not sure if these people met face-to-face first, but it does seem like they were in Tokyo. They had met sort of together and they played shogi. Again, I don't know if it was online or in person because I actually have conflicting reports on that. But they played a game. There was a dispute of some sort, and a Mongolian man arranged for them to meet at a later date so they could fight. So the Mongolian guy, even though he didn't participate in the fight, is actually being prosecuted under this law, but he went back to Mongolia, so they can't actually talk to him. They can't catch him. This has been illegal since 1889. So even if you are not involved, so the Mongolian guy, let's say he comes back and gets arrested for arranging this fight, he could get 2 to 5 years in prison. You cannot challenge, witness, or provide a venue for a duel or a fight without being charged, or you could be charged with participating in a duel. A duel is defined as an act of combat in which the parties mutually agree to inflict physical or life-threatening violence on each other, which sounds very much like what I do every week in judo. I agree. In fact, I pay for the venue where I go meet other people and fight them. I'm not trying to kill anybody, but we're trying to put each other down pretty hard. I guess it's not life-threatening. It says inflict physical violence. And throwing someone on the mat is physical violence. I think I might be participating in a duel every single week. So I got to be careful. Maybe the waivers make it different, or the fact that the facility I do it in is government run. So, it's a government sanctioned, it's gladiatorial, it's government sanctioned fighting. Maybe that's what makes the difference. The problem is one man was thrown to the ground. He hit his head and then he walked off. And then 2 days later or 3 days later, again, accounts slightly vary on this, which is weird because it's the news. He collapses, and then 2 weeks later, was it 2 weeks? 3 weeks after that, he died from his injuries. Now, it seems like he was beat up, and he collapsed because he was beat up. But when he collapsed and fell to the ground, he hit his head, and he died from the head injury that was from the collapse that was a result of the fight that was a duel. So now the man is being charged with murder and dueling. So I don't know what kind of murder that is, because again, there's sort of, in Western, it's 1st, 2nd, 3rd degree murder. This one, it's probably just murder because you arranged it in advance, but the dueling actually makes it worse because it was organized. So if you come to Japan, well, first of all, don't get into any fights, but certainly do not duel. We had 2 very similar stories, and I was starting to get them confused in my head. I wasn't 100% actually I was even going to do these stories. The governor of Fukui quit last month. He had sent 1,000 text messages sexually harassing his staff. He asked for sexual relationships. He commented on their bodies. He also touched women. They had to do a survey of 6,000 staff. So just imagine how much money that costs when they find out that this guy's been accused of sexual harassment. They have to survey 6,000 people to find out if he's harassed them as well. Like that, just think about the amount of taxpayer money because this guy couldn't keep it to himself. Apparently, he's been doing this for the better part of the last 20 years, which is, again, that's why he thinks he can do it, because he's done it. He's gotten away with it for a really long time. He's just going to keep doing it. There's actually no reason to not do it. And that's sort of problematic. Some of the messages he sent, I actually enjoy. Now they're starting to post like what the actual messages are. He said, "I want to kiss you." It's pretty direct. "I have an irresistible urge to hug you." And then he would say, "Keep it completely secret and take it to your grave," which is not suspicious at all. Because if I say things to you and then immediately follow up with, "Oh yeah, and keep this a secret and take it to your grave and don't tell anyone because, everything we're doing is on the up and up," that's not telling you right away that what I'm doing is not cool. I think the reason I actually did this story this week is because I've realized that these guys who sexually harass people, they got no game. Like, I think that might be the most consistent thing I found is these guys who find themselves in positions of power, who commit this sort of harassment. They never, when you actually get to read the things they say, they're never good at it. They're never like charming. They're never doing anything that you would find attractive. And I think that's what the difference, like those guys who can do it and make it actually appealing, even if you say no, they'd be like, "All right," and then they would move on and move away and not get in trouble. Whereas these guys got no game, so they're just like sledgehammering their opinion or their ideas in it. There was another guy, totally different story. He's been sacked for just basically power harassment. He's been calling his staff human scum and stuff. And I'm like, again, how did this guy get into his position of power with this attitude? And it's just people weren't stopping him. But then when they actually stopped him, they seemed surprised. This guy, when they actually, sat down and actually, this guy, when they actually came out with the findings, he said, "I respect the findings and their evaluation. I will not hold a press conference to protect the victims." And I think the problem is, in this case, the victims he's referring to is himself, because he thinks he's the victim of this the whole time, of course. So we had our polygamist. He was married and then had another woman they were living with, and it seems like he's adopted her, so she lives in the same house as him, but they're actually all one throuple. And what they were doing was he was getting women to go to hotels with him, and then they were secretly filming it and then threatening the women and getting money from that, and then taking it and posting those videos online anyways. And those videos were making them a certain amount of money. And then he basically kidnapped a girl and was keeping this girl in his house, like a high school girl. And that's what actually got him in the most trouble, because she managed to get away. So the police have gone and they looked through his computer, and that's problematic. Because whatever's going to be on this guy's computer is a lot. It was all the sex videos. There was more than 1,000 videos of him having sex with women that were posted on the internet that were making him a significant sum of money. But he had also created a brainwashing manual, recording his experience, trying to control and get women to obey him. So I kind of want to read the manual, not because I think it's actually good, because this guy got caught. And yes, he had 2 women who were clearly under his spell. And he had another woman he was trying to work on. But I think it would be interesting to see what his actual conclusions were. It's just one of those sort of like dark, like people will listen to podcasts about murders and stuff. I think this might be my version of that, where I want to be like, I want to see your view of what you were doing and how you were trying to do it. Because I know he was calling the high school girl dog, and then his wife turtle, and then the girl they adopted, but was actually his other lover, maybe rabbit. And it's just like, okay, so there's a lot of stuff going on, and I'd like to know all about the stuff. Like, was the denigration of calling one of them dogs supposed to break her down so he could build her up, so he could get her under his spell, all that other stuff. It's just an amazing piece of psychology, and I got to stop putting these stories at the end, because I don't know how to finish now. I would like to finish on an up note. I'm going to have to change my actual idea, because what I was doing was innocent light stories at the beginning, and then lighter stories as we go. This is 2026. I'm going to figure out the perfect format, because it's got to be ending on a positive note. So that's going to be my goal for next episode, is finish the episode with a positive story on a high note that still sort of makes some sort of continuity sense throughout the episode itself, because I can't go light, super dark and heavy, and then light again at the end just for no reason. It's going to have to find a through. So that'll be my job. So you can judge me next week. If I do a really good job, excellent. Thank you. If I don't, please let me know. You can send a message to speakpipe.com/chuckmcbeefchest, or you can send an email to chuckmcbeefchest@gmail.com. I want you to know that I will not be playing Fortnite this week or any week. But if you want to watch me play other video games, you can watch me on twitch.tv/chuckmcbeefchest. I'm on randomly. I love you. Bye.